welcome back to the LinkedIn Logs. I'm your host, Chad White, the Jobs Podcast. If you didn't know, this is the Jobs Podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. That does not mean get up, little boy. Welcome back in. Here we are, episode 83. We have Maverick in the background, getting water. We have me watching late night on YouTube TV on my computer. Look at that. We're all doing things. Welcome back in. As we are continuing down. This is the 83rd show, 83rd iteration, 83rd time I've sat down to record something in regards to not having a job or a semblance of a job. What am I doing today? This. Doing it real early, too. That's because I'm going to go see a movie. That's what usually happens when I don't have anything to do. Don't worry about what movie I'm seeing. You know, if I did this show every week since it started, roughly, there's 83 episodes, but it started 2 years ago because I take time off because I can't talk about job stuff every single week. Then I would have 114 some odd episodes. 50 plus 50 plus 2. 104 odd episodes. But you know what? I have 82 because I take a lot of time off sometimes. We are live on LinkedIn. As we have been for the past 3 episodes, I've gotten much better at when to start the live stream, what's supposed to happen. Not a lot of people have been viewing my LinkedIn page. So mean. It's so stupid. I hate this shit. Yesterday, I did a bunch of... Let's go over what I've done for the past week. Yesterday, I did a bunch of auditions. When I say bunch, I did a couple of auditions. I did a couple of auditions for the Audible. It looks like I did 3. It looks like I did do 3, and one of them, I guess they deleted the book, which is not good. I'll show you what it looks like. It doesn't matter. Who gives a hoot? Who gives a gosh darn? What is it? What am I looking for? Google. This is the toughest thing to do. As you can see, you can't see it yet. You can't see that I was also... Oh, yeah, you can't see it. Okay, cool. Great. Here's what it looks like. The ACX platform where if you're watching the video, you'll see it, where I can go and perform auditions for this Audible. I had 5 offers. I've completed 3. There's a reason why those other 2 were not done. They're leaning into AI, even though they tell you strictly not to use AI. They want you to use their AI, which is not something I want to do. Anyway, you can look through here and see all of the books that I've auditioned for. I usually do it in batches because if I sit around and do it every day, you can see how, excuse my French, shitty these books are. The platform ACX is like, don't use AI, don't use AI voices, don't do this. However, when I read a lot of these auditions, they're so poorly written, and I'm really sharp on this. I'm gonna turn this down. They're so poorly written, and the writing just points to that person, whomever they are, literally just pooping out into an AI tool and saying, write more chapters based on this paragraph or whatever it is. Oh, I see a book that I auditioned for currently re-uploaded. What is this? What is going on? This is a person that also, I bring this up because I did an audition. I did 3 auditions yesterday. And one of them responded to me almost immediately, within like minutes of me uploading the audition. And this person asked me like very pointed questions in a long form format, not including, you know, telling me what the book is and this and that. This has never happened before, so this is all unexpected. But then also saying, if we move forward, when would you expect to have the project completed? Where are you asking for per finished hour? The thing is, when you upload your book and you put out an offer to find talents, this person very specifically, and they also did it for the second book or the same book that they re-uploaded for some reason. So now they have two versions of this book on this platform. One has a different cover. They offer a budget of $50 to $100 per finished hour, and the project length is supposed to last from 5 to 10 hours. Why would you ask me when you could just as easily say, and I'll get to this next point in a second. There's something else that I'm leaving out intentionally. Why would you offer me this book or ask me questions about this book, but then truly just say, how much do you want? Because I'm going to give you in a realm of that $50 to $70 or $50 to $100 split, or whatever the heck it is. Now, continuing on, immediately after he asks, what are you asking per finished hour? He responds, I've stopped using gender neutral terms. He responds, if we do a royalty split, marketing would need to be led by the producer, which is me. To make that work, which does not fucking happen. To make that work, we would need to understand your target audience strategy and the expected ad spend you would put behind promotion. That is not expected. I will tell you this right now. Of every, I've done, let's say 70 80 auditions for this platform, for Audible. Not one person writing a book using AI or not, using AI tool or not one single person or company or brand has said, you're going to do the marketing. That is crazy. That would be like going to Hugh Laurie, who is Gandalf. Gandalf? What's his name? Who's in charge of Gryffindor? Who's in charge of Harry Potter at Hogwarts? It's Gandalf, right? No, it's not Gandalf. Hogwarts principal. You fucking idiot. Dumbledore. Jesus Christ. It's like asking Dumbledore, Hugh Laurie, who's playing Dumbledore in the newly recorded Harry Potter audiobooks that are coming out between November 2025 and I think March of 2026. That's like asking him to start stunting and going out to different, not just doing press, but also setting up the press himself and posting on Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky and all that junk. No. So if you, again, yes, I know what you're thinking. Well, why don't you just leverage that into the payment? That's exactly what I'm thinking. But also, this could just as well be fake, you know? Then, not even, so that was at 11:25 a.m. I was completely wrong about that. Not even 3 hours later, or roughly 3 hours later, I get the same exact message, except formatted, completely different, and the marketing jargon has been removed. Ridiculous. I'm going to give this person leeway. I'm going to give this person grace, but I've been screwed over so many times that I'm going to tell you right now. That was crazy. And I'm definitely going to look at it and be like, I don't know. Now, it's not to say the book was written poorly, because I've read a lot of these auditions, and a lot of these books are written so poorly. And when you do an audition, you record the audition and then you send it in, and then you usually put a note that says send a message to the rights holder with your audition, optional. I usually write, can't wait to do something nice with this, or I'm so excited, what a great story. Just some BS. I played a little bit of the the clip for me, just to hear myself do the audition and read it. It was good. It was a good audition. Don't know why you responded so quickly at 11:25 a.m. But it currently says I have 76 projects. So that's where I got that number from. And a few of them. One of the books that I did read was deleted because it was fully deleted by Audible, not by the person, because it was an ad. It was truly an ad. And I remember doing it and going, this is an ad. And then that person immediately, they sent me, it was payment terms of that book were 50% of royalties from sales. And I think I made, I'm not kidding when I say this, I think I made like less than $10 on that. That person, as soon as I finished that book, they immediately sent me another one. The same guy. And I said, offer declined. I said, no, thank you. Oh, God. Okay. Let's get on with the news. This comes from Reuters by Lucia Murakami. U.S. job growth through March expected to be revised down sharply. When I was getting ready for this episode of this show, I knew this is the story I wanted to do, because when I was riding my bike, as you can see back there it is. I was riding my bike. I was watching the news. Oh, that's why you pay the $84 a month for YouTube TV, so you can get the multi-screen, watching the 4 things of news. I was watching the news, and this was one of the big stories talking about how the revisement of the level of the job employment in the U.S. is going to happen. So as I was getting ready for this show, and I was reading through articles of this ilk, I go to my RSS feed reader, Feedly, feed.ly, Feedly. And although they've gotten a little too asking me for money all the time, and it's free, but they ask you for money all the time. Pay for our subscription. Get the AI thing. Blah, 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 blah. I saw a news article come out with the exact number of jobs that had to be revised. But from Reuters, written by Lucia Murakami. I went back to the name. U.S. job growth through March expected to be revised down sharply. Economists say that there's going to be some sort of downward revision, and that would really show that job growth actually slowed before these tariffs. The payrolls benchmark revision would come on the heels of news last Friday that job growth almost stalled in August, and the economy shed jobs in June for the first time in 4.5 years. It would suggest the labor market was already struggling before President Donald Trump's aggressive tariffs on imports. An immigration crackdown by the White House has undercut labor supply, while a shift by businesses to artificial intelligence tools and automation is curbing demand for workers. As we know, that is very much true. Economists estimated that the Labor Department's Bureau of Labor Statistics could revise down the level of employment from April 2024 to March 2025 between 400,000 and 1 million jobs. Remember, that's the timeline that they're looking for. So a year, roughly a year. The estimate is based on the quarterly census of employment and wages, QCEW data from the second quarter through the fourth quarter of 2024. QCEW data is the first quarter of 2025 will be published, for the first quarter of 2025 will be published together with the payrolls estimate. The level of employment for the 12 months through March 2024 was revised down by 598,000. So 598,000. This is something that happens pretty much every single year, but it's the scale. The scale of the job losses are the main points, because sometimes the economy, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they put out these numbers that are a little bit lofty because those are the numbers that they get. Sometimes they're more not made up, but I already used the word lofty, so I have to find another big word. Sometimes they're a little bit more inflated than what they should be. Sometimes they're off by tens of thousands. Sometimes they're off by a couple of thousands. So we're going to see these revisions all the time. It's just how we react to them and how big they are and how we react to them. This comes from CNN Business, CNN.com, Alicia Wallace. Get ready for more employment data revisions. Large downward revisions to monthly jobs data in recent weeks put a gigantic spotlight on an incredibly typical procedure for economic data. As I just said, they are also spurred by, they also spurred something highly atypical, with President Donald Trump firing the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner over baseless allegations the data was rigged. Again, they're looking between April 2024 and March 2025. It could be somewhere between 400,000 to a million jobs that were actually less. Here are some more potential factors regarding the expected downward revision. Weaker than inferred job creation at new firms, sampling errors from declining response rates, and then, of course, the undocumented workers being taken and shipped out of this country for God knows what reason. On Tuesday, the BLS will provide preliminary data for its annual effort of gaining a near-complete employment count by squaring past jobs data from business surveys, which are more timely but not as accurate, with comprehensive unemployment insurance quarterly tax filings, highly accurate but significantly lagged in timing. So this also plays, the Bureau of Labor Statistics also gets their numbers from people like me who file their taxes and then say unemployed. Oh, isn't that? Oh, it makes you feel so good and so whole. I filed my taxes day one because what else am I going to do? Tuesday's release marks the first step in an annual review called benchmarking, a previously innocuous process that's been applied to Business of Labor Statistics jobs, Bureau of Labor Statistics jobs data in some shape or form for 90 years. Again, this has been happening all the time. It's just how drastic it is. However, at this point in time, data reliability is something that could be a factor going forward, as our great president has let people in charge of this stuff go. After the original set of data was released, then candidate Trump told a fabricated story about how the government had been planning to announce this downward revision, quote, after November 5th, election day, I'm getting torn up, but was forced to do so before the election because of a, quote, whistleblower, quote, a patriot leaker. He later claimed, if you're listening to the audio, God, I hope you are, I just made a face. He later claimed the job gains under former President Joe Biden's administration were, quote, a fraud. There was no whistleblower. The Bureau of Labor Statistics regularly does the preliminary benchmark data this time of year and has disclosed the precise date of this particular data, August 21st, weeks in advance. Boom. All right. Now, why do these revisions happen? Well, according to Alicia, federal data is fluid and frequently subject to change as more detailed and accurate information becomes readily available. They have to get the employment trends and then ahead of time, but again, those numbers are often lofty. Often Lofty is my favorite rapper from the 90s. He was featured on a lot of Beastie Boys songs. To get the monthly payroll estimates, the BLS surveys about 120,000 U.S. employers, accounting for 600,000 work sites, roughly 1/3 of employment, and is based upon survey responses from employers across a wide swath of industries. Those respondents are given 3 opportunities to report their payroll gains and losses for any given month. That's why the initial payroll estimates, which are drawn from a survey where roughly 60% have responded, are revised twice further when 90% of them have. So as we get deeper into the year, after tax stuff, after layoffs, after this, after that, then companies get a little bit more, I guess you would put in quotes, confident in regards to their payroll estimates and numbers for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, now let's get into the meat of the news. This comes from NBC News, written by Steve Kopak. The U.S. created 911,000 fewer jobs than previously thought in the 12 months through March. These are the revision numbers that we landed on. Again, from April 2024 to March 2025. That would roughly amount to 76,000 fewer jobs created each month of the year up until March. I have a feeling that come end of summer next year, August, September of next year, we're going to get even greater numbers, which will point to not just a weakening economy, but a weakening U.S. And you know I'm a patriot. The revision draws fresh attention to the weakening U.S. labor market, which added an average of only 29,000 jobs in each of the 3 most recent months. The August jobs report showed that the U.S. only added about 22,000 jobs last month and also revised June's job growth down to a loss of 13,000 jobs. We also get, again, based on the latter part of that sentence, we also get chances, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, my favorite bureau. Let me name my favorite bureaus. I like a bureau that holds the TV. That's number one. And you know, I live in a house from 1920s, and we have these big wooden, you know, everything's big and wooden. Tables, couches, beds, bureaus. We have bureaus, tons of bureaus throughout the house. And we put TVs in them. This is just the basement where I'm in. We get these revisions. We get a big revision usually once or twice a year, and then I think we get smaller revisions every couple of months. Those data points have led economists and some policymakers to conclude that the U.S. labor market is now at a standstill. The manufacturing sector alone shrank by 78,000 jobs over the past year. It's the BLS said on Friday, even as the current administration focuses heavily on rebooting the industry. So we lost a lot of stuff. We lost a lot of jobs. There's jobs being taken because of AI tools. There's layoffs happening because we're having mergers happen. God, when that Paramount one happens, oh Jesus, it's going to be very bad. I also, you know, as we have other things that people don't think about is that when not just mergers, but what was I talking about? when Paramount merges with Skydance, people will lose their jobs. And then we will also have some churn happen when AI, not just AI, but when there are layoffs, when there are massive layoffs, when it comes to jobs being doubled up on or just being relinquished and destroyed. There are types of jobs, big jobs, small jobs, all over the place. But there are even thankless jobs. We have people who are being exported. Is this not the word I'm thinking of? Deported. We have people being exported from America. No, we have people being deported from America. Also, when people are exported, that's when they're born. You're exported from your mother's womb. Oh, God, I remember when I was exported 32 years ago. Control M and then save the desktop because you wouldn't want to lose me in one of those folders, and then you get exported right onto the desktop. Always rename the file chadwhite.mp4. Yes, I'm an MP4 file. All right, this final one comes from Katie Kilkenny over at the Hollywood Reporter. Katie Kilkenny wrote it. It's called "The Deadest Dead-End Job in Hollywood?" ? This is a very interesting piece that came out a couple of weeks ago, last week rather, talking about one of the most thankless jobs when it comes to the industry that I call home, the business of show. The people who are usually there first, usually there last, they make just the least amount of money when it comes to a job in the industry. They work long hours and they have to deal with a lot of shit. I'm talking about production assistants. This is not, it used to be a job where you could, and that's not to say that it's not still, but it used to be a job where people can start as a lowly production assistant and work their way up the chain to become a producer one day, or the person in front of the camera, or in front of the microphone, or what have you. But now that's different. Kilkenny covers a few production assistants, including Mike McGurk, who was a production assistant for a bunch of things, including Prime Video's Mozart of the Jungle. Oh, he was the second AD on. You got a job title for Mozart in the Jungle, but he also worked on a bunch of other things, and Universal's Ted 2. When being a production assistant is something that, I don't know, I think people would call it a rite of passage. They would say you have to earn your stripes or whatever that bullshit is. Pay your dues is what I was thinking of. Pay your dues when it comes to working in this industry. So you're there. Production assistants do everything. They're the ones that if they're shooting on location somewhere, they've got to, or even not even just on location, just on a set. They've got to stop, somebody and be like, "They're shooting. Be quiet." They always take their job way too seriously. They're the ones that help. If set people need help, if gaffers need help, they're the ones that can lend a hand to stuff that won't take away from the union workers. Obviously, it is a thankless job. You're doing all the small stuff that no one else wants to do, but you're doing it with the hopes that sometimes that at some point you'll get another job. But even then, as you'll see in this piece, which is very well written, you'll see that you have that it's not guaranteed. Even if you do land a job that is bigger, and you're not in a union, you land a job that is bigger than production assistant. Sometimes you have to just revert back to being a production assistant, just to get that paycheck going for a little bit until there's another assistant director gig or thereabouts. As we know, the entertainment industry has had a recent reeling, a pullback when it comes to jobs. Trust me, I know. I see the same jobs posted on Warner Brothers dot Discovery dot whatever the shit that website Workday. Warner Brothers dot WD5 dot myworkdayjobs.com. I see the same jobs. All I'm saying is, and I'll get back to this in a second. All I'm saying is that if you post a job to LinkedIn or to your Workday or whatever the heck, and 100 people apply for a job, and it's been 2 weeks, 100 people apply for that job, you're not like at least 60 of them have to be qualified for that job, and you don't want to pay someone to move, so at least 30 of them have to be in that city that are good for that job, and you have to talk to at least those 30 people who like, I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so as Kilkenny writes, the contraction has been particularly brutal for Hollywood's production assistants, many of whom are feeling stuck at what is supposed to be the starting line for their careers. Again, as I mentioned before, some have already worked their way up that hierarchy, but you have to return because there's nowhere else to go. Others haven't gotten to that next step and are having difficulty finding consistent work. She talks about how, or I don't know, Kaylin Kilkenny talks about PAs having paid their dues for such a long time because it's just impossible at this juncture to move up. One time I was working as a PA on a dating show, and I know I've told this story before. It's been 2 years, but this one young woman this is how fertile, I guess, production was in Atlanta at the time. This one young lady said, I didn't even want to do this. I wanted to quit my desk job. And then my friend said, hey, do you want a job as a PA on this show? And then I said, I guess so. And then I took it. And she got the position. And it took me at that point. This is before, oh, Jesus, when was this? Who was I dating? That's how I judge my jobs. That's how I know my jobs. This is probably in between WXIA and the Weather Channel. It's probably that, or between, yeah, it's probably that. And it took me so long to even get that position, and I came in late, just like her. I came in late, but she was just like handed the thing, and then they were all going to Chicago to shoot the rest of the dating show, and I think she was one of the ones that was going with them, and I was just like, ridiculous. There's some truth to the notion of PAs being the most poorly treated workers on sets. The occasional victims of power mad creatives who act like shooting a popcorn thriller is the equivalent of negotiating a peace treaty between warring countries. About 24 working PAs throughout the U.S. spoke for this story. Most of them are PAs on sets as opposed to office PAs or post-production PAs or writers' PAs. They've uncomplainingly cleaned up feces and bile, dealt with demanding directors and temper tantrums, dodged a lit firecracker, and learned of actors who just didn't like seeing them around. But again, for every situation that's a negative like that, there's also these great, wonderful positives that you have to just take in stride. When on SNL this past summer, last week was the end of, I guess you would call it a firing season. It wasn't really firing. They just let 4 people go and 2 writers left. Or one of the people that was in the cast, it was a mutual decision. But regardless of that, it shouldn't be known as a bloodbath, which is like people in the news are stupid when it comes to how things work. That's not a bloodbath. I will show you a firing but bloodbath. Paramount Skydance will see that come November. I think we'll see that late October or end of November. We will probably see something along those lines. That's conjecture. I have no idea if that's truly going to happen. But I know it's going to be I know it's going to happen, just not when. Anyway, I think it was Devin Walker who was the one who mutually decided that to no longer be a part of the show. But He said sometimes it can be a toxic workplace, and yes, it is very true. But then you also have to take the good with the bad. It can't all be this negative thing. Just because I haven't worked in 3 years doesn't mean that it has been completely negative. I get to spend time with my dog. My cat died, but I get to spend time. Couldn't afford to get the surgery, and then when she got the surgery, she was killed. Anyway, I get to spend time with my dog. I get to go to movies during the day, which I will do in less than an hour. It's just it's. You have to take the good and the bad. Sometimes these things happen. Being a PA, a lot of things. You get to eat last. Imagine eating last. Oh man, it's the worst. You eat last, and then also. Oh, Jesus Christ. Keep getting these emails about interviews with comedians, and then nobody responds on time. I asked you last week. Anyway, you eat last. You're off. You're spoken down to, especially by somebody who was nepotized into a position ahead of you. Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, to be spoken down to by someone who's 10 years younger than you. Or your age. Oh, my gosh. There's another big issue is that jobs are leaving the United States. Not just LA and Atlanta and New York. A lot of things are being shot in New Zealand and Australia, and those places are being made to look like American cities because it's cheaper to shoot over there than it is to shoot here. There's just more incentives when it comes to taxes. There's a lot of nepo babies, as I mentioned in passing. For PAs looking to advance in their careers, 2025 is not an auspicious time. One classic path up for a film and television set PAs to become some form of assistant director, which they can transition to organically on non-union projects if someone hires them in the role, or they can attempt to qualify for the Directors Guild of America. In LA, production assistants often must work hundreds of days on eligible shoots, doing eligible work to make it into the DGA's qualifying list for commercials as second ADs. ADs typically rise up through the PA ranks, but with some in the new role now stepping back down to PA jobs, people who once might have been interested in taking the AD path can feel that there aren't enough opportunities to merit. There's a lot, and that's just one avenue. There are also so many different ways in order to find camera work or to be a producer, as I am. It's tough, and people, as smart as I think Scott Galloway and Kara Swisher are, they are, and I was listening to their latest episode this morning. They are people who are millionaires, and they're out of touch with what we are doing today. And as such, Scott Galloway does not even like the industry. He often berates people who want to be creatives, but my man, not everybody can create a business, sell a business, make millions, and rebound consistently like that. Those are just pipe dreams. Anyway, but there's no one way to do things. I think that we have to take that into consideration. There's no one way to go from being a PA to being your own director and being the next Steven Spielberg or Kenya Barris, creating TV shows and movies, or even making a short film. There's no one way to do it. There have been plenty of people that have done it their own ways. The Always Sunny crew, they famously took out cameras, VHS cameras, and shot the pilot for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. How old is it? 20 years or something like that. So that was 20 years ago. It's different. Everybody's path is different, but we just have to be able to lay the groundworks for those paths and really give people a chance to excel and do well and make and give and allow them to get into the same realms and realize their dreams as the people who want to, work in finance or sell insurance, or I don't know what regular people do. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talking to family people. If you want to watch a video version of this show, as well as a video version of the other podcast, the Late Lately, the Late Late Night Show, and the Constitutionals, the entertainment business news show, go to youtube.com/peoplescomedy. Watch me talk to famous people on youtube.com/peoplescomedy under the interviews. Get all those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky @CPlusComedy. Me @Chad Black White. We'll see you next time. Hire me. Bye.